We have purple confetti falling in New Orleans as the Washington Huskies survive a last-second effort by the Texas Longhorns. They win 37-31. They will face the Michigan Wolverines in the national championship game next Monday. Before we break down this game and preview the national championship game, do want to welcome in 4 new affiliates who joined the Fox Sports Radio family at midnight Eastern on January 1st. Fox Sports 97.9 in Hartford, Fox Sports 1300 in New Haven. Ben Darnell is the program director of both of those great stations. He co-hosts the Afternoon Drive Show with Rob Dibble and the Yukon Huskies flagship radio network. We also welcome in Fox Sports Radio 970 in Pittsburgh, Fox Sports Radio 106.3 in Sheridan, Wyoming. Thank you to our new affiliates. And you got yourselves a heck of a first day as part of the Fox Sports Radio family, as we do have a final in New Orleans. As we just said, Washington, 37-31 is the final score. They will play Michigan. Jason, it got crazy at the end. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, before we get to the results itself, DeSager just played you the sound, but let's go ahead and hear the final play of the Sugar Bowl.
Last chance for Texas. Ball is at the Washington 13. On 4th down, 1 second left in the game. Ewers from the shotgun. Quinn with the snap. Back to throw. Looks. Fires for the end zone. Incomplete. And that's it. The ball game is over. He was going in the corner. Brad and I, Mitchell, Elijah Jackson had the coverage.
Can the Dogs defense get the stop on 4th and 11? Ewers takes the shotgun snap. He's back to pass. Pressure coming. Throws the fade.
We're going to Houston, baby!
Jackson knocked it away. Elijah Jackson knocks the ball away. The Huskies are headed to Houston.
Tony, Husky Nation!
Elijah Jackson knocks it away, and Washington is headed to Houston to play the Michigan Wolverines for their first national championship since 1991.
Those calls courtesy of Learfield. I'll let you, I'm not here to pick on anyone in our business. I'll let you decide on which call had more energy and excitement, but you can understand why the Washington radio call was, as enthusiastic as it was. Jason, we don't need to beat around the bush. It was a crazy final minute, but I got to say this. Let's break it down, and let's talk about what I believe to be the story of the night. And I think this is Michael Penix's national coming out party. Now, I know Washington's been in the top 10 for most of the season. I know they've had high-profile games in the Pac-12 championship game. I understand that they played Oregon earlier in the year in a game that a lot of people watched. But my guess is New Year's Day, college football playoff, coming off Alabama, Michigan, more people watch Michael Penix than have ever seen him. And what a show this kid put on. 29 of 38 passing, 430 yards passing in this game. That's 11.5 yards per completion. It was about 16 yards per completion midway through the second half. An iconic performance from him. Second most total passing yardage, I should say, ever in a college football playoff semifinal, behind only Joe Burrow's iconic performance against Oklahoma in 2019. This guy, if he wasn't already a national star, this was a coming out party for him, Jason.
Just tremendous. He had a 188.7 rating, 76.3% completion percentage in the game. 430, like you mentioned, passing yards, 2 touchdowns. It was better than the 76%, too, because there were a couple of drops, and there was one that he had to throw away fairly late in the game. It's as good as you'll ever see a quarterback play. And I said this around the same time that our producer, Pat, was saying virtually the exact same thing about his team. My team needs a quarterback next year in the NFL, my Broncos. Feel free to draft him. Like, I know Caleb Williams. I know Drake May. I understand all of these things. I respect Bo Nix and McCarthy and whoever else, all this kind of stuff. I look at Michael Penix, and I see the speed with which he throws, the accuracy with which he throws, just the poise that he seems to have. You look at his size. He's got pretty good NFL size. Like, just put him in Denver, man. He's easy to root for on top of everything else. Like,
He already wears purple. You guys wear
exactly.
Purple, yeah?
It looks good in purple. Like, we can pull this off. Like, let's make this a thing. It's been so much fun to watch him play college football since the very beginning. He's had highlight reel plays. He had that crazy finish against Penn State during the COVID year where he dove for the pylon. We'll never forget that image. And now he gets this. This is as good as you'll see somebody play that wasn't talked about on the national scale. Even though he was, it's not like he was viewed the way Burrow was viewed or talked about the way that LSU team was being talked about at this point. They've been underdogs. They were underdogs in the Pac-12 championship game. Seemed like most people were picking Texas in this game. They took it personally, and they just kept winning. They beat Oregon twice. They've beaten Texas now, and now they're going against Michigan, who, they've got an awesome defense. But I was looking at this during the break, and we'll start to break it down, but Michigan has not seen a quarterback even in the same universe as Michael Penix Jr. The best quarterback that they've seen this year, it was either Milroe today or it was McCord. Neither one of those guys, just as a pure quarterback, like as a passer.
Tua's brother's pretty good. He ain't Michael Penix.
Yeah, that's true.
But he ain't Michael Penix, though. Let's get that straight.
Not even close. Like, that's going to be – I just can't wait to see how this defense, that Michigan defense that's been talked about and has lived up to the billing for the most part, how they respond and try to deal with this Washington offense. With a quarterback, the throw to Adunze on the left side down the field, there were about 2-3 minutes left in the game that led to them kicking the field goal to end up going to 6. That throw was effortless from Penix. Like, he just lets it go, and it's an over the shoulder throw and over the shoulder catch. Beautiful. It was an impossible throw. Insanely difficult throw, and he made it look easy, and that is a huge compliment. Like, I came away so impressed. I already like the guy, but this, I agree with you. This is the one because everybody was watching. This was the one where you kind of, your eyes are much wider now, and now you see how good that guy actually is.
And here's the other thing, too. I saw this stat. So, first of all, he had negative 20, I believe it was, let me make sure I get this stat right. Doesn't really matter. He had negative rushing yards on the season. Now, that's a little bit of an unfair stat because in college, if you get sacked, it counts as negative rushing yards. But I bring it up because tonight, 3 carries, 31 yards. I think his longest carry all season long was 11 yards. And I think that was something else interesting as well is you'd have to ask Kalen DeBoer. I'm guessing we're probably not going to get him before the end of this show. But my guess is that that was probably something that, as the kids say, Michael Penix probably had the wheels and the run game in his bag probably all season long, and probably because there's not another Michael Penix on that roster, you don't let him run the football. But I think that's another element of it, too. It's almost like, remember C.J. Stroud last year? That was the knock on him. Well, he doesn't really, he can't really move outside of the pocket. And then he's gashing Georgia in that national semifinal. You say, I've never seen this before. And so I don't know if Washington purposely never really let him loose or I'm not smart enough to know the scheme and the game plans and the this and the that. But that's another element of it as well, as we saw him as this kind of pure pocket passer. And it's like, oh, now he's ripping off 10 yards per run when he's actually running the football. It's like he might be, listen, whether it's fair or not, these games on this stage do matter. And that dude just made himself a lot of money in the NFL draft with his performance tonight.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show. Just because I haven't doesn't mean I can't.
Yep.
Just because they haven't called it doesn't mean I'm not capable of it. Maybe they didn't need it. Maybe it was an unnecessary risk in their opinion. Maybe it was something you pull out you pull out zone defense when the man-to-man isn't working in college basketball, but you don't really want to if you don't have to. Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's break in case of emergency. Penix can throw it. Penix is incredible in the pocket, so you don't run it unless you absolutely have to. It's probably not the first thing that he wants to do. But, again, we saw it in Indiana. He was able to make some of these kind of plays. It's just not his wheelhouse. It's not his bread and butter. It's not the thing that he's known for. But if you add that to the arsenal, the same way you do with C.J. Stroud, what exactly are you supposed to do to stop that guy? At that point.
Well, and that's the oldest adage in football, right? Is that the quarterback that can beat you with his arm and his legs is the guy that is basically impossible to defend. And so, we don't have to – I hate when people turn this, whether it's a big Final Four performance into an NBA draft stock thing or an NFL draft stock thing on a night like tonight. But, you do sit there. I mean, what is the thing that he doesn't do if you are looking for a quarterback? And so I know he's got the injury history, whatever. But, yeah, I don't know what else to say. One quick thing, it is a little bit of a negative, but Dylan Johnson, the leading rusher, did get hurt on the final series of the game. I know it's impossible for us to speculate, Jason, but I got to imagine against a Michigan team as good as they are, you're probably going to struggle to run the ball against Michigan anyway, but I would assume, I guess there's no real thing to say because we don't know at this point, but that is definitely something to keep an eye on going into the national championship game is his health.
Yeah, for sure. He wasn't as effective running the ball in terms of just stats in this game, but that's because Penix was doing all the heavy lifting in terms of them throwing the football. If you're going to beat Michigan, it's their secondary that you can beat. It's not generally a team that you can run the ball consistently against, but their secondary can be had if you're a quarterback that can take advantage of it, and that's what Penix is going to have to do. Now, if you're one-dimensional and they can prepare for nothing for the but the pass, and they're not concerned about you on the ground, then that makes it all the more difficult for you. There'll be somebody. Here's the thing: there will be somebody to carry the football for Washington. There'll be somebody else if he can't. Hopefully, he can go, and it's not as bad as it kind of looked. He definitely was in pain as they were helping him off the field, and then they carted him off. That's the worst possible result. But you hope that maybe it's negative, and when they look at the X-rays and he's able to come back and play in the game, you want everybody full strength if you can get it. But this game, that national championship game, is going to be won on the arm of Michael Penix and in the hands of his receivers, I would say. And, of course, going along with that, because you saw this fairly consistently for Michigan against Alabama, their O-line's got to hold up. Their O-line's got to give their quarterback the opportunity to find those guys and wing that ball down the field to him. And he's certainly capable of making Michigan pay all night long through the air. It's going to be a really interesting game. It's going to be a chess match game, and it's going to be, if you've watched Michigan all year, it's going to be so different than anything you've seen them face. I think that makes it all the more interesting.
So one more thought. We'll come back. We'll start previewing the next game. But I want to say something else. You and I love college football about as much as anybody. I'll be honest. If Kalen DeBoer was sitting next to me on an airplane, I don't know that I would know that he is the Washington head coach. One, I want to give the guy credit. But two, for people who don't know about his background, came from a small school. Jason, check this out. So he was at Sioux Falls, I don't even know if it's a university or college, from 2005 to 2009. These were his records over a 5-year period. 11-2, played in the national semifinals. 14-0 national championship, 13-1 national runner-up, 14-0 national champion, 15-0 national champion. Went 67-3 as a head coach at the NAIA level. Did not get another head coaching job. Now, I know he went the coordinator route to kind of move up the ranks. I don't even know if there's a take there, but I just got a piece of advice, okay? If you win 95% of your games at one school over a 70-game period, you know what the heck you're doing. And maybe the take is, we spend so much time talking about Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. Kalen DeBoer was hired the same coaching cycle that we spent so much time talking Lincoln Riley to USC, Brian Kelly to LSU. Kalen DeBoer, who, like I said, if he was sitting next to me today at the Rose Bowl, I wouldn't have known who he was. That guy's a heck of a football coach, man, because year 2, national championship, Michael Penix, or national championship game, Heisman Trophy finalist. I don't know what else there is to say. It's a great story just all around across the board.
I mean, recall the stones that he had to go for that fake punt that kept them undefeated.
Right.
That's coaching. That's a decision that is all or nothing. You push your chips in. You believe in your guys, and they pull it off. But you're right, especially in this Final Four, right? You got 3 coaches you could recognize from a mile away. Saban, Harbaugh, Sarkisian. And then there's this other dude who you'd see him standing next to you, to your point, and you'd say, hey, man, that's Nick Saban down there. You know who Nick Saban is? I was watching them interviewing Kalen DeBoer before the game, and of course we've seen him here and there during the season. There's just nothing that stands out about him because there's never been a reason to pay attention. But if he does this next week, we're probably going to know who he is, and he's going to become somebody you'll notice from about half a mile away.